rolling tumors to roaring lampooners, the Tigers on a Roll show starts in 3, 2, 1.
War Eagle, everybody. Let's put a W in the win column for the Auburn Tigers basketball team. And also, you might as well put the history books in a shredder because the curse in Gainesville is finally broken. Shout out to Stephen Pearl and the boys for getting that done after 3 decades of losing to the Gators in Gatorville. We are certainly celebrating over here at Tigers on a Roll. And we're riding high. We're riding high from Saturday because what we witnessed in Gainesville was not just another Auburn basketball game. It was an absolute exorcism, hopefully, of all the demons that Auburn has been suffering from over the last month or so. Again, in case you missed it at the top of the show, the first time since 1996, before any of the guys on this roster were even born, probably even conceived, Auburn walks out of the O'Connell Center with a huge, huge win, not only to break the curse, but to also put a quad 1 win in the record books for them as we progress through the end of January and into February, and ultimately into seeding for March Madness. We will certainly take a look at that historic 76-67 victory. And then we're going to get into the Tigers on the Prowl segment for this week, which I know everyone's here for because it's so much fun to talk about all the sports Auburn is up to as we go about our week. I just want to be here to remind you where to watch it, what time to do it at, and who's playing, and who are they playing. So as always, this episode is brought to you by Brahma Marketing. They are a 3M Graphics certified company that makes great custom apparel at the best rates you can find. They're based in Kennesaw, Georgia. Shipping is always incredibly quick, and their turnaround on the projects themselves have always been really, really fast for me and all the folks that I know that have used them. Give them a call. Check them out, brahmamarketing.com. Episode's also brought to you by the Orlando Auburn Club, which, in my opinion, is the best place for alumni and fans alike to network and catch any Auburn game. They have events monthly and in the fall, weekly for the Auburn football games. Absolutely amazing network to have if you're a young alumni, if you're 75 years old, or if you're thinking about going to Auburn. Reach out to your local Auburn Alumni Association chapter, or if you're in Central Florida, stop by one of the great events that they put on over at the Orlando Auburn Club. Also, folks that are in the chat that you're watching the live stream, or if you catch that after we wrap up, do not forget to like the video, share it with another Auburn Tigers fan, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I never charge for this content, but I absolutely love to engage everybody, so it's great to have the subscriber numbers climbing every day. With that being said, we'll get back to the substance of the whole thing. 30 years is how long it has been since Auburn won a game in the Swamp. But on Saturday, Coach Pearl, thank the Lord, took the Tigers down there and absolutely dominated the first half. They go into the locker room up 43-28. And it was ultimately a really, really good team effort on defense to crowd the lanes and stop Florida from doing what they want to do. And Stephen Pearl absolutely schemed that one up really, really well to kind of turn the tide on what our season has looked like recently against teams we've definitely been outmatched against. But Keyshawn Hall took over the scoring early and often, and he was absolutely unstoppable. He drops 24 points total, with 22 of them coming in the first half. And I think 12 of them were in the first 3 or 4 minutes of the first half. It was absolutely incredible to see. He has become a cornerstone of this offense, and he set the tone for Auburn against Florida. And the rest of the front court matched his energy, matched the intensity that he was bringing, which you need to see, especially at this time in the season. And if people want to say that we're peaking at the right time, I'll hear you out on that because I agree. If you've watched some of the other videos I made as we got into the middle of January, I was not very happy with the product that Auburn basketball was putting out there. But if you can continue to get wins, especially on the road against teams like the defending national championship or champion in Florida, that is a great way for yourself to get deep into March Madness. And that is what we were all looking for. And at one point, it seemed like a little bit of a pipe dream, but we're back. I don't want to speak too soon. Knock on wood. We seem to be back. And Stephen Pearl's got them right. And we'll see what they can do even this week with the continuation of the conference schedule, which we will get into in a second. I just want to give also a massive shout out to Keyshawn Murphy. When Florida was making their run middle and late into the second half, and we knew that they would, and Auburn has not been able to stop a team that they were overmatched by when they did go on a run. Florida ultimately tied it up at 56 points. And Murphy, I thought, was an anchor for the good guys. He ends up with 16 points, 9 boards, and he was flying around trying to close out this game when Auburn has, like at least historically this season, has not been able to close out a game. Even gets a goaltending, or even gets called for goaltending, which I thought even added to the intensity that he was playing with. And I will never fault a player for going, end line to end line, trying to do what they can to make sure that their team gets to that buzzer with more points on the scoreboard than their opponent. And he was doing that, so I want to give him a huge shout out. Absolutely loved his intensity. Just like Keyshawn Hall, I think a lot of the guys saw them playing their hearts out, and it elevated the intensity that the entire Auburn roster was playing with, especially in a place like the Swamp. After a 30-year drought of winning there, you've got to do something, and they went out and did it. They close out the game on a 22-13 scoring run, and they secure the 76-67 victory over Florida for the first time in 3 decades, which is absolutely incredible and cannot be overstated. And what also can't be overstated probably is that that's Stephen Pearl's best win of his young tenure. It's the best road win that he's had, even as an assistant coach, and it's probably one of the most impactful wins in program history. Like, it was that important to beat Florida in Gainesville over the weekend, and they did it. So super, super proud of them. And you can certainly celebrate, but celebrate fast, because this week is just a continuation of the SEC gauntlet for the men's basketball team. They are taking on Texas at 6 p.m. on Wednesday in Neville Arena. The Longhorns are a physical basketball team, but Auburn is 8-1 in home games up to this point in the season. So the matchup on Wednesday isn't super concerning for me, but it is the first meeting between the two of them in conference play so far this season. So we can only really go off of their resume up to this point. I think Auburn should certainly be favored in this game. No lines were available when I was prepping this episode, so we'll see on that front. But I would definitely take Auburn against with a small spread, outright winner, and have a lot of confidence in them matching up with a Texas team that has faced its struggles this season. And then this weekend on Saturday, 7:30 Central, I believe this game is. Auburn goes to Tennessee. Which obviously I would say there might be some bad blood between the Pearls and Tennessee. There's no question about that. And Stephen Pearl himself might have a little bit of a vendetta with the folks in Knoxville. So again, the home team I think is favorited in this one. I think the Volunteers will be favorited. But the matchup is not as daunting as it seems on paper, again, in my opinion. Tennessee has certainly dropped some games, just like Auburn has, and it seems that Auburn has been gaining momentum at the right time, which I think they are more than capable of carrying through a middle-of-the-road SEC opponent. So if they can do that, they get 2 wins on the week. Those are probably both be really good quad 2, quad 1 wins. We'll see how it shakes out. But coming off of the Florida win, if you can bag both of those games, the Tigers are in really, really good shape. And the narrative that Auburn might miss playing in March kind of goes out the window, and they've positioned themselves at the top third of the SEC, which you get pretty decent seeding out of that. Like, you'd be maybe 3 through 7 seed when the tournament bracket comes out, which, by the way, the bracket for March Madness comes out in like 28 days or something like that. So keep your eye on that, and hopefully Auburn can keep climbing the rankings and position themselves to be in a better spot than they are currently, which I now think is ultimately fine. And keeping in the same vein as basketball, we're going to hit the women's basketball team to continue the Tigers on a Prowl segment. They lost an absolute heartbreaker on Sunday at home, falling 72-65 against number 16 Oklahoma. But they're back in action on Thursday. It is their only game of the week, I believe, and you can catch that on ESPN Plus at 8 p.m. Central. They are hosting number 2 South Carolina. South Carolina is an absolute juggernaut. I think that they've won like 3 of the last 6 national championships or something like that. The girls from Columbia are always stout, and they are an incredible basketball team. So we'll see what Larry Vickers can do when they come to town, and see if he can't dismantle the South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball machine that they will ultimately bring to Auburn. And strange things can happen in the jungle, especially when the fans show up. So if you can make it to that game, I highly recommend going. I always say it. Going to a women's basketball game gives you the same environment as a men's basketball game. The tickets are a lot cheaper. And if you can't get a ticket to a men's matchup in Neville, that is an absolutely fine opportunity to go otherwise. So highly recommend doing that if you're in town, as Auburn brings number 2 South Carolina into Neville Arena. And speaking of Neville Arena, Auburn Gymnastics loses on Friday to, number 11 Auburn Gymnastics, let me add that, loses to number 1 Florida in Neville, 197.1 to 196.7, and Marissa Neal wins the all-around title with a score of 39.375, beating out some of the best gymnasts in the country. They are unfortunately not going to be on the plains this weekend. On Sunday, they are traveling to Athens. I feel bad for them, but they are traveling to Athens to face Georgia for the Deep South's oldest rivalry on the mats. I believe that is also being streamed on ESPN SEC Network. So if you want to check that out, absolutely do that. The girls put on a great show, and I think that is absolutely a matchup they have the capability of winning. I think they should be better ranked than number 11, but losing by that margin to Florida, they held their position. So they can only go up from here, and they absolutely have the talent to do so. Georgia has been struggling a bit, at least by their standards. So this is a prime opportunity for the Auburn Gymnastics team to get a road SEC win and start stacking those up, just like the men's basketball team wants to do at this point in the season. And then hold on, give me a second. Men's tennis, frankly, both tennis, never played it. Not a huge fan. I'm trying to get into it. But men's tennis, it seems like they split their matches at the ITA kickoff weekend. They beat Alabama, fortunately, but they fell to number 7 Mississippi State in the championship match. And that loss, thankfully, only marks the first loss of Auburn's season. And they dropped to 6-1, which is absolutely fantastic still. But they do miss the national indoor bid. But beating the Tide is always a successful weekend in my book. So shout out to them. They will be taking on the Temu Tigers in Clemson on Sunday of this weekend. I do not think you can stream that, but you can get live updates from the Auburn Sports website. And then the women's tennis team is matched up with Oklahoma State in Stillwater on Friday. Those are both sports that I highly recommend getting into because they play so frequently. When they are playing, there is a lot of activity because they are on, 6 courts. I personally never played tennis, never really followed it, not even like professional or international. But after running this podcast for quite some time, and having to check in on their scores and whatnot as their seasons have progressed in the summer and the winter, it has been awesome to see them succeed. And they are both the men's and the women's team have some of the best players in the country. So highly recommend checking them out when you're able to. And like I said, they play so frequently, it's almost impossible not to be able to catch at least some of the Auburn Tigers action when they are on the tennis court. And another team who I want you to keep an eye on, that is it's an Olympic sport, but I want you to keep an eye on the indoor track season. That started earlier this month, but it continues. They are also at Clemson this week for the Bob Pollock Invitational. We have produced consistently Olympic athletes and world-renowned cross-country and long-distance runners. This team has a few of them. It is a lot harder to catch these events. You have to check the live updates on them. Sometimes they're streamed when they're the NCAA sanctioned events towards the end of the season, so the championships. Those are always great ones to watch. And also the venues that they run at to end their seasons at the NCAA championships are incredible. Like they're in Eugene or they're in Austin or wherever they've been. You can catch those on ESPN. Not this one, though. You're going to have to go check them out online. Or if we can cover it, we're going to put some stuff on X for y'all. And that'll do it for cross country and track for the indoor. Quick programming note, I suppose. You've got Alabama. You've got Auburn taking on Alabama in Tuscaloosa for the swim and dive team. And they lost to Florida last week on senior night, which is very unfortunate. And that is another sport that we put athletes into the Olympics regularly. Again, the purpose of this segment of the week is to cover all of the sports that Auburn is playing anywhere in the country, and giving them a little bit bigger of a platform, if at all possible, because I know we have a lot of Auburn fans that are men's basketball fans and football fans, sometimes exclusively just one of them. It is always worth checking out what the Tigers are up to at any given day of the week, because they have so many teams competing regularly. It is worth checking out. And the one that I would say is you should check out at any time, is probably the best team on campus. Our number one ranked equestrian team will be traveling to UT Martin to take on the Skyhawks this week. They are back in action after a brief winter hiatus from dressage and barrel racing and whatnot. But they are an absolutely incredible team to watch. They are always highly ranked. And if you're in Auburn, you can catch them for so dirt cheap, and most of the times for free, at the Equestrian Center. And they win constantly. They've been ranked in the top 5 for a decade or something like that. Something insane like that. So absolutely check them out and keep up with them. They are some of the best in the country, some of the best in the world. And I highly recommend following the Equestrian team as their spring event calendar ramps up. And then finally, to end the Tigers on the Prowl segment for the week, I was not able to make it out to the course to watch, but now I'm kicking myself that I did not go, because the women's golf team has recently certified their scorecards, and they are the winners of this weekend's UCF Challenge at Eagle Creek Golf Club in Orlando, with Katie Cranston topping the individual leaderboard with a total of 9 under for the event. She is the individual winner and certainly bolstered Auburn's performance. Auburn itself wins the team competition, and she wins the individual. Absolutely incredible weekend for them down here in Orlando, even after having the second day the end of the second day be postponed with 3 holes left. Really great showing for them. I'm hoping to have a surprise athlete from the golf team, from the women's golf team, on at some point this week to recap their weekend and what it means to be in full swing for them. So keep an eye out for that if that is at all possible. But as you can tell, 20 minutes in, this has been an absolutely huge week for Auburn so far, and we have a lot more to look forward to for the rest of the week. A ton of sports are competing, so check them out when you can. You can keep up with them via the X for the channel. Try to cover a little bit of everything, just like I do on the Tigers on the Prowl segment. Or check out live updates for all of these events on auburntigers.com. That is one of the best places to find them, and they have some great articles over there as well. If you're interested in catching up with any sports, do that. Or if you're looking to get into some sports, they obviously have some great coverage. As always, folks, I appreciate you watching. Please do like, share, and subscribe. I'll be previewing the Texas game, hopefully recording that tonight to post early tomorrow, so y'all don't have to keep catching these at 3 p.m. or whatever when everyone's in the middle of their workday. And speaking of workday, I got to get back to work. So again, War Eagle folks, thank you for watching. I'll see you.